According to the 2024 Global Peace Index, the average level of a country's peacefulness has rotted by 0.56%. In simple words, the world is becoming a more dangerous place to live in. Now, this can be attributed to a lot of reasons, like political tensions, economic crises, gang wars, or just the overall rise in crime rates. While crime exists in every corner of the world, there are some cities that are in a league of their own, where danger isn't just a possibility, it's a daily reality. Here we talk about 15 such widely dangerous cities that you probably wouldn't survive in, and we're not saying you shouldn't visit them, but you better tread carefully if you do. Let's start off with number 15, Karachi, Pakistan. Just Google Karachi and you'll see why it's kicking off this list. Once known as the City of Lights, Karachi was a vibrant hub where people from all over the world came to trade, live, and enjoy a cheap yet comfortable life. But that was then. Now, it's a city where survival depends on who you know, how much you have, and how invisible you can be. Violent crime has plagued Karachi for decades. Murders, kidnappings, and gang wars are just part of the landscape. Political instability didn't just shake things up, it turned Karachi into a battleground. After gaining independence, the power struggle began. More army, more corruption, and notorious gang leaders like Altaf, Puppy, Afak, and more running the streets like their personal kingdom. Here, killing for a phone isn't shocking, it's routine. If you have money, you can buy anything, except safety. But if you're just here for the food, well, at least Karachi still does that right. Number 14, St. Louis, Missouri, USA. St. Louis isn't just another dangerous city on a list, it's the most dangerous city in America. Year after year, it racks up the highest murder rate in the country. This isn't random crime, it's systemic. Entire neighborhoods are left to rot, swallowed by poverty, drugs, and violence. Gunfire is just part of life here. One wrong block, and you're in a place where cops take their time showing up, if they show up at all. Segregation runs deep, opportunities are few, and desperation fuels the cycle. Downtown might shine during the day, but after dark, even the locals know when it's time to clear out. Tourists mostly stick to the safe zones, but the real saint. Louis is something they don't see. For the people living here, survival isn't just about common sense. It's about luck. And sometimes, that's just not enough. Just ask the families of the 106 people who were sent to God in St. Louis in just the first 6 months of 2024, and the numbers don't lie. Number 13, Cape Town, South Africa. Cape Town is the kind of place that tricks you. One minute, you're sipping wine with a mountain view, and the next, you're reading headlines about another gang shootout. This beautiful city has it all: stunning beaches, a rich history, and a murder rate that would make some war zones flinch. While most areas are safe, at least, the Cape Flats is the real story. A place where gangsters run entire neighborhoods, and gunfire isn't an event, it's background noise. Here, decades of apartheid left a mess, and now poverty and crime fill the cracks. The police, either too scared or too bought off to do much. Tourists still flock to Cape Town, but the smart ones know where not to wander. And if we speak about the locals, well, they just keep their heads down and pray today isn't the day they end up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Here, every day is a gamble that people play in order to survive. If you're lucky, maybe you'll live to tell the tale. Maybe. Number 12, Caracas, Venezuela. Caracas isn't just a dangerous city, it's a free fall into chaos. It's far more dangerous than the Sentinelese tribe. Once a thriving capital, it's now drowning in crime, corruption, and sheer desperation. Just ask the locals. Armed robberies happen in broad daylight, kidnappings are a business, and murder, that's just another statistic. Walking the streets unprepared is like wearing a "Rob Me" sign, especially if you look like you have dollars. The economy collapsed. Inflation hit insane levels, and basic necessities became luxuries. The police, either corrupt or too scared to intervene. The real power? Well, it's in the hands of criminals, gangs, and even government-backed militias. It's not just a city where danger lurks, it's baked into the system. If you somehow end up in Caracas, forget about sightseeing. Your main priority is making it out alive. Number 11. San Pedro Sula, Honduras. San Pedro Sula doesn't do casual crime. It does full-blown war zones. This city was once crowned the murder capital of the world, and while the numbers have slightly dropped, the reality hasn't changed. Gangs like MS-13 and Barrio 18 don't just control neighborhoods, they control lives. Here, survival isn't about being careful, it's about not being noticed. Extortion, assassinations, and kidnappings aren't rare events. They're daily occurrences. If you own a business, you're paying the gangs. If you refuse, you won't be around much longer. Police, outgunned and outnumbered. The only real rule in San Pedro Sula is don't get in the way. And tourists? They don't last long here. If you're thinking of visiting, we say just one word: don't. Number 10. Acapulco, Mexico. Acapulco's days as a glamorous beach escape are long gone. What was once a luxury playground for the rich and famous is now a battleground for the cartels. Tourists still come, but most have no idea what's happening beyond the resorts. Venture too far, and you're in a city where decapitated bodies are found in the streets and gunfights break out like bar brawls. The drug war turned Acapulco into a slaughterhouse, with gangs fighting for control over the lucrative trafficking routes. Extortion is standard, disappearances are routine, and the police, either bought off or too terrified to act. Even local businesses pay protection money just to keep their doors open. The beaches are still there and the sunsets still look nice, but behind that best view, Acapulco is a city soaked in blood. If you're visiting, stay in the tourist zone and pray to God. Number 9. Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Rio de Janeiro is a city of contrasts. Golden beaches and blood-stained streets. Tourists come for the samba, the carnival, and the breathtaking views, but beyond the postcard-perfect skyline, another Rio exists. The favelas, stacked against the hills, are their own world, run by gangs, ruled by the drug trade, and patrolled by police with military-grade firepower. In this city, violence isn't random. It's woven into daily life. Gunfights between rival factions erupt without warning, and police raids turn entire neighborhoods into war zones. Stray bullets don't discriminate between criminals and bystanders. Even the tourist hotspots aren't as safe as they seem. Armed robberies happen in broad daylight, and venturing off the beaten path can quickly turn into a life-threatening mistake. The city is beautiful, no doubt, but in Rio, beauty and danger walk hand in hand. Number 8. Baghdad, Iraq. Baghdad isn't just a city, it's a story of survival. War, terrorism, and sectarian violence have left scars that never truly heal. What was once a thriving cultural and historical center has been ripped apart by decades of conflict. Here, the sounds of the city aren't just car horns and market chatter, they're explosions, gunfire, and sirens. The 2003 invasion turned Baghdad into the epicenter of chaos, and what followed was a cycle of destruction. Suicide bombings, armed militias, and targeted assassinations became part of everyday life. Even with some stability returning, the city remains volatile. One wrong street, one wrong moment, and you could vanish without a trace. For locals, danger is a given. For outsiders, it's a gamble with very bad odds. Baghdad is resilient, but safety here is an illusion, and for many, the fight to stay alive never truly ends. Number 7. Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. If there's one city that defines the brutality of the drug war, it's Ciudad Juarez. Once known for its booming economy, it has now become synonymous with violence, fear, and impunity. At the height of the cartel wars, bodies were turning up in the streets daily, some executed, others left as warnings. Even now, the bloodshed never really stopped. The city sits on the border, with the U.S. making it prime real estate for trafficking operations. Cartels battle for dominance, and civilians often become collateral damage. Kidnappings, extortion, and assassinations are just part of the landscape. The police? They either work for the cartels or are too scared to do their jobs. People here live by a simple rule: mind your business, stay invisible, and never be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Tourists are rare, but if you ever find yourself in Juarez, just know you're on borrowed time. Number 6. Mogadishu, Somalia. Mogadishu was once a bustling trade hub like Port Papalui, but if you look at it now, well, now it became a lawless wasteland after the collapse of Somalia's government in 1991. Since then, warlords, extremist groups, and militias have carved the city into territories, with civilians caught in the crossfire. Terrorist attacks aren't rare. They're weekly, sometimes daily events. Bombings, kidnappings, and ambushes can happen anywhere, at any time. Militants from Al-Shabaab operate freely, launching deadly assaults that make even military forces think twice before stepping in. Police? Let's say they're practically non-existent. Safety is a luxury no one has. For locals, life is a battlefield. For visitors, it's a one-way ticket to hell. Even journalists and aid workers only come here with armed escorts. If you're not from Mogadishu, you don't belong in Mogadishu. And if you ever find yourself there, the only question is, how fast can you get out? Number 5. Johannesburg, South Africa. Johannesburg's streets tell two stories. On one side, you've got towering skyscrapers, luxury malls, and high-end estates. On the other, you've got hijackings, smash and grabs, and neighborhoods ruled by fear. The city's crime rate isn't just high, it's insanely high. Carjacking is a daily occurrence, and if we talk about armed robberies, the reality here is that you don't even need to be rich to be a target. Home invasions are totally normal. Some families have panic rooms instead of living rooms. The divide between rich and poor isn't just economic, it's life or death. The wrong turn can mean walking into an area where even the police hesitate to go. Locals don't just lock their doors, they fortify their homes. Electric fences, armed guards, and security convoys aren't paranoia, they're standard practice. Tourists are told to be cautious, but caution only gets you so far in a city where opportunity and desperation collide daily. Number 4. Kabul, Afghanistan. Kabul carries the weight of wars that never truly ended. A city that once thrived with markets, poets, and scholars is now a place where hope and fear exist side by side. Streets lined with bullet-riddled buildings whisper stories of lost generations, and while people still wake up, work, and dream, every step outside comes with a silent prayer. The danger here isn't just from one source, it's layered, unpredictable, and relentless. Rival factions, extremist groups, and criminal gangs all carve out their own control, turning ordinary civilians into collateral damage. Even the air feels heavy, knowing that at any moment, an explosion or a raid could rewrite the lives of hundreds. For those born here, Kabul is home. But for outsiders, it's a city that doesn't forgive mistakes. Some visit thinking they'll witness history, but what they see is a place where survival isn't a guarantee, it's a skill. Number 3. Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea. Port Moresby isn't lawless, but it might as well be. The skyline rises, new businesses open, yet beneath the surface, survival is dictated by a different set of rules. Here, crime isn't just an issue, it's an economy. Violent gangs known as rascals control the streets, And when night falls, the city transforms into a place where only the fearless or the foolish roam freely. Wealth and poverty clash at every corner. High-security compounds stand next to settlements where people live, knowing that the police, underpaid, outmanned, and often corrupt, aren't coming to save them. Carjackings aren't a possibility. They're expected. Robberies aren't random. They're organized business transactions. Even stepping into the wrong taxi can mean a one-way trip to a ransom negotiation. For locals, it's just another day. For visitors, it's an unspoken warning. This city smiles in the daylight but shows its teeth at night. If you love your life, just search a bit deep about it. Number 2. Port of Spain. At first glance, Port of Spain looks like a tropical postcard. Beaches, steel drums, festivals. But underneath the Caribbean charm, a different rhythm plays after dark. One of the gang disputes, drug trafficking, and armed robberies that unfold in broad daylight. There's no clear line between organized crime and local politics. Power moves in the same circles. Entire districts are ruled by criminal networks, and the police, overwhelmed and often outmatched, have little choice but to pick their battles carefully. Tourists arrive thinking they've found paradise, but what they don't see is the city's unspoken rule. You move carefully, you trust selectively, and you never assume safety just because the sun is shining. In some places, crime is an inconvenience. In Port of Spain, it's woven into the city's DNA, waiting for the unsuspecting to let their guard down. Number 1. Guatemala City. Guatemala. Guatemala is a city where danger moves in silence, and survival depends on knowing the rules. This isn't just about crime statistics. Entire neighborhoods are controlled by MS-13 and Barrio 18, where even a wrong glance can turn deadly. Extortion is a full-time business, and those who refuse to pay often disappear without a trace. Carjackings, a daily routine, robberies, they don't happen in back alleys. They happen in broad daylight, in traffic, with no hesitation. Police presence? It exists. But corruption runs deep, and justice is often just another transaction. The rich live behind high walls, while the poor navigate a city where desperation breeds violence. Tourists who don't blend in quickly become walking targets. In Guatemala City, the danger isn't loud. It's always there, waiting for the careless to slip. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for staying with us, and we'll see you very soon in the next one.